Hello, today we're going to talk about forms in Excel. Now, this allows you to start from Excel, make a form. It's going to put the form on your OneDrive, and you can then collect information. You can share that form, and that will come back into your Excel spreadsheet. So it's a really good way of collecting data, and it's actually really easy to do, especially now they've put the button in the desktop version of Excel. So let's show you how it's done, and let's get started. So first of all, we need to go to the Inserts menu at the top, and you'll see there's an option for Forms. And just a note here, you will need Office 365 for this. If you've got a standalone version of Office, it won't be available, so you need to have the subscription version. So here we go. So we're going to click on Forms. Now, one thing I should also mention, you need to have saved this file on your OneDrive as well. So I've saved this file on my OneDrive. I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to choose Form. I'm going to choose New Form. And when you select New Form, I'm just going to maximise this, it will ask you to log in to your 365 account, and when it's done that, it will bring up this box here, and this is asking you to get started. Now, you need to give some thought to the questions, because you've obviously got to get the data that you can do something with. So I'm going to start by asking people to put in their name. So if you are completing this form internally and everybody has a corporate account or a 365 account, it will automatically collect their email address and name. If you're sending this form externally, which is possible, it won't collect their details. So in that case, you need to include a name field if you need their details. So let's imagine I was finding out what training course people require. I would ask for their name first. And I'm going to put another question in. It's going to be a text question again, and I'm going to put enter your email. Now, I can make these fields required. So if you look in the bottom right corner of the question, there's the option there for required. So I can just slide that across, and that means they will have to enter something in that box. I'm going to do the same for the name field as well. So click on that question and choose required. There is an option for a long answer. To tell you the truth, everything I've done up to this point has not needed that, but if you want somebody to enter a lot of text, and by that I mean paragraphs, then you probably would need to slide that across as well, but I've generally not needed it for every form I've done so far. So these are coming up now as required, and just to double check that I can see, because if I look at the ones I've just done, they have a little red asterisk, so I know it's a required field. Okay, so they're the first two. I'm going to add a new question. And this time I want to give people a choice, because I want to find out what course they're interested in. So let's say, what course are you interested in? And when you put together your questions, I always think it's a good idea to test out the form on someone else. Let me just type these options in while I'm talking. So we're going to have Word, and AI has come up with some extra suggestions, so I can choose that. So let's go Excel, PowerPoint, I might do Forms, and I could have another option. So let's add in let's say Outlook, and also down the bottom there's also Other, so I could choose Other. But what I was saying was, think about the questions you're asking. Is it collecting the right data? And test it on someone else. Get their opinion on it, because sometimes we don't see our own errors, we don't see our logic, and somebody might not interpret our questions the same as what we do. So always test it. So what course are you interested in? Now, what I can do with this one as well, I can back to the required option, that's still there as before, but I can also choose allow them to have multiple answers. So if you look at the buttons to the left, just show you here, of the options, they're all circles. Now I'm going to change it to multiple answers, and you'll see those buttons change to squares, and the squares indicate to me that they can choose more than one. And I can limit them, so if you wanted to place a limit, you could say you're only going to allow them at the most 3 options, or you're going to make them have 3 options. So I'm not going to put a limit on. So there we are. So that's that one, and I am going to leave it as multiple answers are allowed. So let's come down again. Now let's add a new question. Now I want to find out what date they're completing the form. So I'm going to put that in. So it does actually bring back a date, but I'm putting this one in to show you how important the date field is. So if you're collecting anything to do with dates, please use this way, because it will restrict their input in, and it will mean that when you get the results, you can do things like sort by the newest, the oldest. You can filter on dates, and you'd be amazed at how many different variations of a date you can have when people are filling in a form. So always try and stick to a field that is based on the date for that, and this will be looking for 2 Ds, a /, 2 Ms, and then / and 4 Ys to indicate the date. I'm going to make that required as well. Okay, let's ask a new question. So we get a couple of other options here. I'm not going to go through them all today. One that's quite good is a rating. So if you was doing an evaluation form, that could be quite handy. And one we'll talk about in future videos is the ability to section off your form into different sections, and you can also get them to sort things in order of ranking. So there's a few other options that are really useful here, and when you're collecting the data, if you stick to choice, it makes them put it in the data in the area that you want. So let's give them another choice. So let's add a new question, and I'm going to say please indicate which region you are from. So maybe we're looking at the north, the south, east and west. Which region? And I'm just going to change that question again. Try and be really specific. Where UK you are from. So north, south, east and west. So I've got some options there. And let's have one more question. I'll make that a text. Enter your town. Okay, so there we are. So that is my form. Now what I can do is I'm going to add a little bit of information under the title. So at the top I've got the title. If you haven't titled it, you just click on it, because it would just say Form 1 or Untitled Form, and just type in the title. And I'm going to add in a description. So please, it's always a good idea to give them a little bit of guidance on what the form's about, why you're collecting the data, our form to help us schedule the course for you. I think people feel more comfortable if they know what you're going to be using their data for. If you're collecting the data and you don't want people's name, maybe you want feedback, maybe you want to reiterate that it's going to be anonymous, anything like that will help people feel more comfortable with it. And sometimes I say, please complete our short form. Please don't make your forms too long, because people will just give up and you'll find that they won't actually submit them. Okay, so now I've got that done. I'm going to do a few things with that now. So I'm going to go up to the top. I'm going to choose style. So what this allows me to do is just choose a background style. I'll just have a look at the options available. So let's go for that one. Okay, so I'm going to choose a style. The second one is I can preview it so I can see how it's looking. So that's not looking too bad. It's always a good idea to preview, because I can see how it's looking on a mobile or how it's looking on a computer. So well worth doing that one. I would also go to, now there's 2 options here. The collect responses is actually quite handy. So let's go to collect responses. Now this is really important, because if I was sending this form external to my organisation, I would have to change it to anyone can respond. Otherwise it would not let them. So it would send them the link, but it wouldn't work. So the default is to be people in your organisation. And if that's the case, it records the name. If it's outside your organisation, it doesn't record the name. So let's choose anyone can respond, and you'll see the other options are deactivated. And then a couple of other things. I can copy the link. So on the right hand side this is, so you can copy the link. What I would tend to do first is I would tend to shorten the URL. I don't want them to have a great big link, and then I would copy that. So that URL can be pasted anywhere. So if I'm just going to go into an email. So imagine I'm sending an email out to somebody and I just want to say, please complete our form, and I can just paste the link there. I could paste that link on social media, providing it was open to everybody to complete, and they would be able to just complete it and I would see the results. So I would send that out. I can also get a QR code. So let's come back to the forms option. So I've come back into Excel because we were accessing forms through Excel. I just came back into Excel, and what we'll see here on in the form, the option here is a QR code, and if I click on that, that will give me a QR code that I can copy. I can download it. So if you're maybe collecting data from people on a course, or you wanted to put those up around a venue so people could scan them and collect them, that is a really good way. I've seen a lot of people use the QR codes to collect the data for their form. So we're good to go. We're happy with the form. We've previewed it, we've tested it out, and I'm going to go and send the link to a few people. Let's just close down that. So now I've come back into my Excel file, and what is happening is you'll see that this data has populated. It's coming as a table, all my filters are there, I can see exactly what's coming in, and these results will come in live. So as people submit them, this spreadsheet will grow. I haven't got to worry about being updated. All the information is there. It was that simple. And there we go. So all of that was accomplished by going to the Insert tab, choosing Forms and choosing New Forms. Have a go with it. It is a really useful feature and a really good way of collecting information. And I will do some more videos on forms because I actually think they're quite useful. And we'll look at some of the other questions that we didn't look at before. I'd love to hear your feedback. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know your comments and whether you're using them for anything. It'd be really good to find out.